刚不要我用就好。
Hello, my friends. My name is Ryan Freeman, and I am going to talk to you about my very first surgery in my entire life, which I had here in Jiayi City, Taiwan, where I work as a public school English teacher at a junior high school. Here you can see I have a sling with an abduction pillow. I'll be talking a lot about that. Let's go ahead and just talk about what surgery I had. I had a rotator cuff repair surgery along with something that often accompanies rotator cuff repairs, a tenodesis, bicep tenodesis. So the rotator cuff, there are 4 relatively weak muscles that keep your shoulder joint stable, and they will often tear if you are younger, usually from overhead sports like volleyball, baseball, tennis. I played a lot of tennis, and I first noticed that I had problems with my rotator cuff back in my 20s, so decades ago. I'm 43 years old, but the pain wasn't that bad. It would go away if I played a hard day of tennis. I would have pain the next day, but then the day after that, it was gone. So I sort of managed it, lived with it by not over exerting myself and not playing tennis anymore. But then I started jiu-jitsu about 7.5 years ago, and jiu-jitsu has a lot of different movements, and some of them put your arms in some very interesting positions, and some of them you fall on your shoulder. You could also injure your rotator cuff just simply by falling. It could be that I didn't even get it from tennis, that I got it from falling when I was younger off of a mountain bike, which happened quite a lot, or rollerblades, who knows? Who knows? It happened so long ago, but this right shoulder has been something of a problem for half of my life. But something not necessarily such a big problem until about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, shortly after I moved to Taiwan, it started to become a real issue that it was making a problem for my sleep. It wasn't recovering as fast as I wanted it to. I was doing jiu-jitsu a lot and getting older, and I decided to get it checked out 2.5 years ago in Taiwan. And one doctor said he could heal it through PRP, and then I went to another doctor who did a much more thorough analysis, MRI, and said, no, the PRP will not work with your slap tear. It's so bad. You need, which is a tear in the labrum, you need surgery, and it's going to cost you about $3,000. Now, Taiwan has national health insurance, which you will have as a public school teacher, or almost everyone will have. And that covers a lot of things. It will make all of your medical expenses going to the doctor's office for a variety of things extraordinarily cheap. But, however, you sort of need private insurance, which a lot of people have and a lot of people don't. And I didn't really know much about this, but like my girlfriend pays like 100,000 NT a year for her and her child to have private insurance, which is roughly 3,000 US dollars, and that covers a lot of things. So when you do surgery, some bigger operations, it can become a little more expensive, 3,000 US dollars, 90,000 NT, without private insurance. And I said, well, what's going to happen if I don't get the surgery? He said, well, you're going to have some atrophy of muscle, increase of pain. And then I sort of thought, well, do you notice any atrophy of my strength? He tested my strength. He's like, no, your shoulder's super strong. I said, well, I'm not going to get it. So I didn't get it. And I was still able to recover. It took a little longer. The pain was worse, but I just lived for the next 2 years without a problem. I mean, without feeling I needed surgery. It was just a bigger problem than it was in previous years. And then after I moved to Jiayi and started doing judo, I don't know if that was part of it, because the judo is a little more repetitious with their movements and strong movements. And if you have bad technique, like I'm fairly okay at jiu-jitsu, but judo I'm not. I don't know if that was it, or it was just getting worse anyways over the course of my life and through activity. It got way worse, and it wasn't recovering, even taking 9 days off, not recovering, taking 2 months off, feeling better, but as soon as I did anything with it, but not completely going away, the pain, the interruption of sleep, but as soon as I did anything with it, it just got, it got terrible. And then there was something moving around in there, unlike anything before. So I decided to get another MRI, and the doctor here said, yeah, you have a complete slap tear. It's not going to heal on its own. You need the surgery, okay? What that movement that you're feeling, that's your bicep tendon moving in and out of place because it's not held in like it's supposed to be because of the tear. So, do you want surgery? And I said, let me think about it. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, I can still use my right arm, my right shoulder for almost everything except, if I play basketball and I shoot up with my right hand, there's going to be a lot of pain later on. Jiu-jitsu and judo I just felt was out of the question unless I was going to go extremely light, which is hard to find a partner who will accommodate that. And anyways, it's been getting worse, and the doctor said it will continue to get worse. You could go on for a while, just manage your pain, but it's going to get a little worse. The tear's just going to tear more and more and more and more. And the bicep tendon is going to go doing, 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 out, out, out. And so I decided, well, you know what? I don't know how much the surgery would cost in America. It's not going to get better on its own, according to at least 2 doctors in 2 different cities. I might as well, and it's better to get the surgery earlier than later because you heal faster when you're younger, and the worse the tear, the more complicated the operation. And I thought, well, okay, eventually I came to the conclusion that I was going to get the surgery, which ended up costing me 60,000 NT, $2,000 US. I'll go over the cost. Basically, you schedule your appointment for a surgery here. I'll talk about how I got to it. Called the doctor's office, called his assistant, scheduled the appointment. Had to wait a little over a month, and I didn't really have a lot of details. It's not until they call you the day before. All in Chinese, by the way, so you should definitely either speak a Chinese or have one of your Chinese friends talk to the doctor's assistant or the hospital. They call you the day before, they give you the details, they say bring your toiletries, bring your health insurance card, your ID card, and come to the hospital at such and such time. Of course, different surgeries, different doctors may have you come in differently than I did. My doctor had me come in a day before my surgery and leave a day after. So I stayed 2 nights at the hospital. When you get to the hospital, you do a bunch of checks. They take your blood, they take your blood pressure, they ask you lots of questions, they take your height, weight, all of those normal stuff. And then they check you in to the wing of patients that are either awaiting their surgery or recovering their surgery. Now, if you have private health insurance, you could probably get a private bed. Private beds can range from 2,500 NT a night to 9,000 NT a night at that hospital, the Christian hospital in Jiayi. They didn't have any of the cheaper private rooms, only maybe some like a 9,000 or a 7,000. They had like a 7,000 NT room, which is like over $200 US. And I was like, no, I'll just take the free room, because your health insurance, although it doesn't, why it costs money, that your national health insurance will cover the operation itself, like the labor of the doctors, the nurses. It will cover your stay in in the shared room, I shared a room with 2 other patients and their families. Talk about that in a second. And it will cover a lot of things, but it will not cover special materials. So for example, when they go inside you, they need these sutures, like these things that sort of knit your muscles and tendons and things to bone and all of that. You know, they're doing these ties. Very fascinating operation. I highly recommend, if you're not squeamish, to look up what it actually looks like. Rotator cuff repair surgery on YouTube. It's pretty shocking. So you have to do that, and then they're like, you're gonna need a sling, and we have 2 slings available. One is 2,500 NT, a little more than $80, and the other is 3,000 NT, $100. Well, I bought the most expensive one, and it's decent quality. The other one looked really rinky-dinky. So I had to pay $100 for this out of pocket, and I didn't even know I was gonna have to do that. I wish. See, I just couldn't. I didn't have a lot of information. I wasn't able. I guess I could have made an appointment with the doctor, and gone there and taken some time off of work to ask more questions. But it's hard. Doctors are busy. You know that he's using English, which isn't his first language. Having my girlfriend call the doctor's office, it's not easy to get an exhaustive amount of information. I could have done my research. Okay, it's my fault. Anyways. I think I probably would have bought a sling online. My recommendation for anyone is find out what type of sling you will need. There's the typical sling, and then there's the sling that has the abduction pillow, which sort of keeps your arm away from your body slightly, sort of eases the rotator cuff, and supposedly improves blood flow, which is necessary for healing. And then it has this belt which keeps it attached, because the idea of the sling is, and I guess I'll get to that. The idea of the sling is to protect the muscles and the parts that were operated on from straining themselves. Okay, so I buy that, we check in, and we have a shared room. In a shared room, you know, you can pull a curtain over, it's a thin curtain, but there's not a lot of separation between you and the next bed. In fact, my girlfriend, she made arrangements. She changed her whole schedule to stay both nights with me, and it was so helpful. I highly recommend, if you're going in to do surgery, unless you're like stout heart brave or you've done it many times before, to have someone with you. It helps not only to have a translator, because the nurses don't always speak a lot of English. They will speak some will speak more than others. In fact, I had some nurses that were coming around telling me I'm very handsome and would I like to be their English teacher, which made my girlfriend extremely jealous. And she was keeping a watchful eye on me and making sure I wasn't smiling too much at the nurses. But my girlfriend made my stay so much better, helping me get water, helping me change ice, you know, because the ice is one of those things. This is water now, cold water. Ice is one of those things that helps to reduce the pain and reduce the swelling, I guess. Doesn't necessarily improve healing from what I've researched. You want something that is hot and increases blood flow. Anyways, I'm not a doctor, but it was so helpful to have her there. And not only for the simple things like helping me change my clothes, helping me all of that after I had my surgery, but the translation and mostly moral support, because I was terrified, okay? And my fear and my nerves kept getting higher and higher and higher. The closer I got to it, I kept looking for ways out. I kept trying to, part of me was trying to convince myself, you don't need the surgery, just fuck it, just live with a fucked up shoulder. But the deep part of me still knew, look it, bro, you've gone through all of this deliberation, you've made this choice, you're here, and if it works, it's the best thing for your life. In total, so having her as a reassuring presence, having her comfort me, having her with me, it just made my whole process of going there, staying there, and leaving there so much better. Nurses are great, but you know, nurses just, they're doing their job. And here's something I learned. Taiwanese nurses can have a bit of a tough attitude because a lot of Taiwanese patients, a lot of old people are assholes. They'll be like, fuck you, causing problems. Even while we were there our first night, some lady was yelling crazy and someone yelled, we're going to call the police. Because I guess surgery is quite common here in Taiwan. My girlfriend's like, you're nervous because you haven't had surgery. She's had a surgery before. People get for her ear. People get surgeries because, you know, it's not that expensive here. It's medical is a little more routine here. These bigger things. And my neighbor, who was an older Taiwanese guy, spoke in heavy, thick Taiwanese dialect and accent. My girlfriend could understand some of what he said. Like he would say, why isn't my daughter here? Talking to his friend. They would talk loud, play temple music. And then at night, man, I don't know if it was him or his friend, he was moaning. I had this thin curtain separating us, and he was just moaning all night. He wouldn't moan during the day. You couldn't sense he was in pain, but the whole night he was either snoring or moaning. And part of me felt bad, because I assumed he was in pain. But then part of me was pissed because he kept kicking through the curtain and hitting my bed and jolting me. So I got no sleep the night before my surgery. My girlfriend got no sleep the night before. So we woke up surgery day basically drained and exhausted. And then it was time for them to wheel me to the surgery. So this guy comes in, starts wheeling me there, enter into a room, place me on a bed, put a blanket on me, and then that was it. I had to say goodbye to Flo and just lay in this bed. And, you know, I've got an IV hooked up to me. I'm just laying there. And then they wheel me into the surgery room eventually and then place me on the surgical bed. And I'm like starting to go, oh my God, is it too late to get out of this? But I had asked there was another doctor who came to check on me. I had even asked her, I'm like, well, what do you think? Do you think I really need it? And she's like, I looked at the MRI. It's a very bad tear. And it's getting worse. I think you need it. So I was like, all signs point to getting it. See, I was even trying to back out at the last minute. We're all on the surgical bed. They strapped me down. Hooked some other stuff up to me, changed this, changed that, put a mask on me. I'm like, what's this for? You're going to be going to sleep soon, buddy. They start coming in, and then they ask me, do you want these extra special medicines? So they will ask you if you want these extra special medicines. They had asked me the day before or earlier that day, but then they asked me again, because you can pay extra money for extra strong narcotics that may help you, as well as a blanket. They sold me a 2000 NT blanket, about $70, which they put on me during the surgery because you're basically just naked or in a hospital gown, and it's colder. It's like 5 degrees colder in the surgical room. They said you should buy this blanket because it will keep you warmer, and if you're warmer, your muscles are more relaxed and the surgery will go easier. I'm like, well, then I better get the blanket. I didn't know about it, but you're upselling me at the last moment. And I'm like, well, can I keep the blanket? They're like, you can't keep the blanket. It's surgical waste. They're going to throw it. So and then other medicine, like something for pain. I think I got morphine. And then there's another one that, because when you get anesthesia, a lot of people they get nauseous after. And I said, oh, I better get it. I don't want to have a day or two of nausea. But then the woman's like, you want this medicine? I'm like, well, I don't know. Do I need it? She's asking me while I'm strapped down to the surgical bed. I had already said I wanted it. Now that another woman's asking me, you really want it? And I'm like, well, do I need it? And she's like, well, do you ever get sick? Do you ever get sick driving in a car or on a plane? I'm like, never. She's like, well, I'm like, fuck it. I don't want it. So I didn't take that. And then they're like, time to go to bed. And I go, I'm going to sleep now? They're like, yep. And I see they start pumping something into my veins. And then I just go, I'm going to sleep. And then I start feeling like cold. And then all of a sudden, I'm out. And then the next moment, I wake up in a recovery room. And my throat is fucked up. And I find out it's because they put a tube in my throat I guess some people have stuff come up. You're not supposed to eat or drink prior to surgery for so many hours. Depends when your surgery is. So your surgery, if your surgery is in the morning, they'll ask you not to eat anything before or after midnight the night before, not drink any liquids after 12 o'clock, midnight the night before, or 7 in the morning. My surgery was at 10 o'clock, roughly. 10 o'clock was when they pulled me down, 11 o'clock. Some people wait till the afternoon. My doctor liked to do younger and older patients early. And I was one of the younger patients, I suppose, in the ward. But my girlfriend totally said, Ryan, you are getting preferential treatment because you're a Laowai. They're going to, like she said, the nurses are so much nicer to you. The doctor gave you a really nice morning slot. She just kept saying you're so lucky being a Laowai. They're giving you such nice treatment. Well, hey, I can't complain about that, okay? And I never saw the doctor. I never saw the surgery, never saw that blanket. And I just ended up waking up with a sore throat and and a heavy bandage, like a huge shoulder pad. And then eventually reunite with my girlfriend.
How's it feel?
Oh my God. Oh my God. They take us back to my room and, I'm recovering one night there. All the checks and stuff like that. And then eventually the next day I'm released with this sling. And now I'm in, today is Saturday. I had my surgery this past Monday. So it's been 5 days, right? And the idea is this is a sling / immobilizer. The idea is my shoulder's not supposed to move. So like I can take this strap off and move my elbow, move my hands, because there's no problem with my elbow, there's no problem with my wrist, there's no problem with my hands, but I cannot move my shoulder because it takes quite a long time for that site to become strong enough or healthy enough. Depends on the complications of the surgery, depends on the quality of your tissue, for how fast that will heal. So everyone's timeline is different. Some people stay in the sling for only 2 to 3 weeks. Some people stay for 6 weeks or more. And I have to wear this pretty much all the time. I have to wear this to sleep. So it makes a lot of things very difficult. I knew that going in, but what I didn't know is that I was going to be able to use my hands. So I find it's not that bad, but I'm terrified of making a mistake, and that's the worst part. It's good to be cautious, but I am so scared because I don't want to re-tear. I don't want to mess it up. I want to heal as fast as possible. So I'm can be a little paranoid, but I take this thing off when I go to the shower. I have waterproof bandages on these 4 incision points. So basically the repair, if you haven't looked it up on YouTube, they poke a needle in your skin, take a scalpel, cut a slit, stick a tube down there, and then all their instruments go right in. And so they do 4 of those, and then they're doing knots and tying things here and drilling here and debriding here. They're doing all this stuff. I don't actually know what he did in mine, but that's the general thing they do in rotator cuff repair surgery. And then tenodesis, because your bicep tendon goes all the way into the labrum of the shoulder joint, I'm pretty sure it will cause problems on the rotator cuff and the labrum. And so what happens a lot of times, they take the bicep tendon and they reattach it to your humerus, your upper arm bone. And so I'm going to be anatomically slightly different. I am anatomically slightly different. I find out, I hopefully get my strength back. I hope, there are some people who do get their full performance level back. Some people get better than before. Some people don't get better than before. A lot of people say, I'm 80% as strong as I used to be. Some people say, I'm stronger than I used to be. We'll find out. So I'm going to be in the sling, then I'm going to be doing physical therapy to get range of movement, then slowly build up strength. It's sort of generally a 6-month timeline from your surgery until you can actually start using it fully as you did before, sometimes longer. The chance of re-tears is more prevalent in the early stage, according to YouTube research I've done. But it depends on what your doctor did and the complications of your surgery. So it's mostly up to your surgeon. Luckily, my doctor is really good. You know, he's done thousands of these, does like a couple hundred a year. Everyone I've talked to, from the nurses to online, he's got a very good reputation. Girlfriend thought he was 30. I said, no, I think he's older than me. I asked him. He laughed. All the nurses laughed. He's 45 years old. So, good guy, very energetic, good feeling from him, which gave me a lot of confidence to do this surgery. However, guys, I will say, I hope you never have to have surgery. But if you do, at least in Taiwan, at least in my case, in my hospital, the process, the people were very courteous, very professional. And 2,000 US dollars, I don't know how much it would cost me in the US. I don't even have insurance in the US. So anyways, I hope it turns out well. I'll be doing updates on it. If you guys have any questions for me, put it down below. My name is Ryan Freeman. I'm a one-handed man for now, but I'm still making videos, and if the editing's not as sharp as before, I mean, I had to open up my tripod using my feet today, okay? Give me a break. All right, hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.